Hello everyone, Twisted Animatronic here, and have you ever wondered which animatronics in the FNAF universe are actually real? Or which are simply figments of our imagination? Well, today we're going to be delving into that mystery. What are the dangers of these animatronics being canon? Are they even canon? This could change everything you thought you knew about the franchise as a whole. Is LolBit real? What about them two dead guys in Sister location? What about JJ? And as you know, the FNAF franchise never has retcons, and we don't really use the word non-canon, because that's dangerous territory, right? Which characters are non-canon? Which characters are canon? I mean, there are so many we need to talk about here. We got various games, various characters, various events. They couldn't have just poofed from existence, right? So where did they go? Now, there are so many characters in FNAF. I'm not going to cover every single one. I'm going to cover the most interesting ones in this video. Well, to me anyway. Sister Location's always fascinated me and the characters in that, but there are a few outside of that bubble, but we're going to cover the majority of them today. And the first one which has always bugged me is Shadow Bonnet and Shadow Freddy. And the question I've always asked is, why is there no Shadow Chica or Shadow Foxy? Is it because Shadow Bonnet and Shadow Freddy are just not real? They're figments of our imagination. But where did they come from? It's highly likely that they're obviously some type of creature made of agony or remnant, right? They clearly exist in the world somewhere. We see them numerous times throughout FNAF, but not really as like a physical animatronic. You know, like the ones we normally see in FNAF walking around. They're clearly not in the same league as them or same category. They're more in Golden Freddy's category, so they do definitely exist, but not as physical as the normal animatronics. But why specifically them? Why no Shadow Chica or Shadow Foxy? Well, I believe that's a question for another video. For now, let's move on to Golden Freddy, because he's in the same league as these Shadow animatronics, I believe. He's clearly supernatural. I mean, we see him as a floating head numerous times in FNAF. He seems to teleport everywhere. He isn't physical as a sense. He's more ghostly in his auras. And yes, he obviously 100% exists. And believe it or not, actually he's going to crop up later on in the video, because if you've noticed, Golden Freddy doesn't appear in Sister location, but I have a theory on that later. So for now, we know they exist. They're more supernatural and not physical like the other animatronics. But one thing which has always bugged me is Balloon Boy. I know everyone loves Balloon Boy. He's great, right? In FNAF 2, stealing our batteries, we absolutely love that. Thanks. But it's the other version of Balloon Boy, JJ, which has always bugged me. Yeah, I know, a simple recolor of Balloon Boy. I mean, why would Fazbear Entertainment just make this recolor? And then it hit me. How often do massive companies just simply recolor their toys, or if you're a big Monster Hunter player like me, recolor all their variants of monsters? There's like 7 or 8 different versions of the same monster, they're just different colors. And the reason they do this is for more money. They could sell more product if the color of their toy is different, or they could have more content if the color of their monster is different, right? So in this case, they've just recolored Balloon Boy to JJ. But obviously that doesn't make sense in the lore. So, are they a real character or figment of our imagination? Well, they do keep cropping up in other games such as Ultimate Custom Night, FNAF World, so I will say that they are in the FNAF universe as a real character. And they're just a variant of Balloon Boy, simple as that, which Fazbear Entertainment happened to want to make for more money. Sounds on point for Fazbear. And now we get into some really interesting characters. Well, for me personally, and Sister location as a whole. Now this is where things start to get a bit more mysterious as well, because first off, I'd like to talk about LolBit. And we know immediately she exists in universe. I mean, she's seen in FNAF World, she's seen in FNAF Help Wanted, and she's even seen on like some type of TV screen in this drawing here, which is part of Security Breach. There's no mistake in it. She is 100% in universe and exists. But it's not as simple as that, and even if it was, what actually happened to her? You see, many people believe that LolBit was simply planned to exist. We know that obviously she appears in Help Wanted, but remember, Help Wanted is a digital world. So effectively, she might not exist in the real world. A lot of people say that she planned to exist in Sister location, but they never go around to making her as such. I don't believe that to be the case though, because if it was, why would you have merchandise of that character? Why would they appear on this screen in Security Breach? And why would you have the digitalized version of them appear if they never existed in the first place? That's because they did. And further to this, if you want more physical proof that LolBit existed, their mask sometimes replaces innards. You know, that one we see on the wall in like the office place in Sister location? Meaning there was a physical version of LolBit somewhere. I mean, why would you have this physical version of the mask if it wasn't produced, or at least in production? So to me, LolBit definitely existed. But what happened to it? Well, we'll come on to that later, because it leads me into the other part of Sister location's mysteries, and that's Yenndo. Now looking at Yenndo immediately, it makes me laugh, because I think if there is some type of like Funtime Freddy without his shell, and effectively that's what he looks like, just his eyes are a different color, right? And what really makes me laugh is some people say this character never existed, move on, it's just this Easter egg. Other people believe this is the key to solving all of FNAF. I mean, this animatronic right here, Yenndo, is the key to everything. So immediately there's such a variance in stories and how big of an effect this animatronic has on the FNAF franchise. And I'm sorry if I just suddenly start laughing, it's just because I just keep looking at Yondo's picture and I just find it hilarious. I don't know why, it's just me. But let's start by saying, did he exist or not? And let's build from there. A lot of people just say, oh, he's an Easter egg, he never physically existed. Well, that's wrong, because he does exist. We know he appears in the base game of Sister location. He can be seen in the Funtime auditorium. You know, not all the time, but occasionally, showing he is there. He is literally in Sister location's bunker. Real, no Easter egg. But that is the only appearance. He is mentioned nowhere else. He is not posted anywhere else. That is it, period. And then it finally hit me. And this brings us back to Golden Freddy, which I talked about earlier in the video. And I said I'd come back to it, right? Because this is it. Golden Freddy appears in every single FNAF game. And I believe Yenndo is the Golden Freddy. I know, it sounds nuts. Let me continue to explain. Because immediately, what is Golden Freddy? It's literally just a reimagining of the Freddy of whatever game it appears in, right? Just a golden version. And what is Yenndo? It's literally referencing the Freddy model, which we have in game, Funtime Freddy. Golden Freddy, referencing the Freddy model. Yenndo, referencing the Freddy model. Golden Freddy was missing his endoskeleton. We know that because he's supernatural. Yenndo is missing his costume, his outer shell. Coincidence? Move on to coloration. Golden Freddy. His costume is obviously gold, makes sense, right? But Yenndo doesn't have one. So what color is his eyes? Gold. Yenndo. The Y actually also stands for yellow. And just like Golden Freddy himself, Yenndo in Custom Night appears in the office and kills you if you don't do anything for too long. Like Golden Freddy, right? I absolutely love the theory, but there's a huge spanner in the works here. If Scott wanted Yenndo to be Golden Freddy, surely he would have given us some other indication like the classic, "It's me." That would imply Yenndo was Golden Freddy, and we don't see that, right? We do know Golden Freddy changes forms to mirror the Freddy in whichever game he is in, so it would be consistent with that. But we don't have that trademark "It's me." But he does change forms, and everything else points to it. We just don't have that one catchphrase. It would also then explain why he's seemingly missing in Sister location. I mean, everything fits apart from that one phrase, and I think for me, that is the kicker. Narratively, it makes sense, but I just don't think it is true. I think Yenndo does exist, but he isn't the Golden Freddy. For some reason, he's seemingly missing in Sister location. Could it be that Yenndo was the first base for Enid? You know, all the black tentacles and everything else. Could he be the base before all the other animatronics combined with him? It's food for thought. But either way, he exists in universe. And the only explanation as to what happened to him is he got amalgamated as the first part of Enid, the base, which other things melded to, because otherwise, what would these animatronics meld to? The original first form of Enid? Me? Think it's Yenndo. So let's stick with Sister location, because there's another person I'd like to talk about. Well, that is the recolor of Bonbon, and that's Bonnet. Now, again, for me, it's pretty obvious that she exists. She's seen on literally the arcade machines in Security Breach. She's seen in Help Wanted, although that is a digital world, but she's also seen in Ultimate Custom Night. And it's pretty obvious, yes, they existed, and yes, they're just the other version of Bonbon. You know, if you're having a kid's party, you'd have one version for one party, one version for the other party, right? Simple as that. Whichever one they would prefer for their party. If you've got an affinity for pink, or if you've got an affinity for blue/purple. It's Phasma Entertainment. Of course they would have two different versions. Now, I did mention the two dead security guards we see in Sister location. Now, they're not animatronics, right? And they look real to me. Well, yeah, definitely. So why did I mention them then? Well, there is actually a reason. You know the way mechanics work in the FNAF universe? If someone dies by an animatronic, they usually get stuffed in a suit, right? It's usually what happens. Or that their spirit or remnant, whatever is used, would haunt the metal or the animatronic themselves. So why is it that these two dead workers or security guards, whatever they are, play no importance in the story? And not only that, every other dead security guard, spring locking, which we've heard of from the phone guy in the past, the way FNAF's story works, why are these never mentioned or play a part in the story? Are you telling me these deaths had no effect on the animatronics at all? Or the animatronics didn't try stuffing them anyway? I mean, not just Sister location, but other locations as well. But here's the thing, I do believe they play a part. Have you ever wondered why all the other animatronics, not the mainline characters, but the other versions seemingly have some type of spirit as well? Well, what if it was these two guys which died in Sister Location? Their spirits haunt the animatronics. I mean, it doesn't have to be just children, right? Surely the adults can inhibit some of these animatronics as well, just the lesser known ones. I mean, Security Breach shows us that there are numerous animatronics, staff bots, floor bots, all being inhibited by spirits. I mean, it's even implied in Help Wanted 2's ending that Cassie's dad, well, the person we play as in Help Wanted 2, goes inside of a staff bot. Well, they spirit anyway. They're an adult. I mean, it's referenced several times that they're an adult, showing us that adults, energies, spirits, remnant can also be infused with animatronics. And like I said earlier, Phone Guy references that there were various accidents throughout FNAF locations with springlock suits. If people had died in them, surely their spirit would be inside them too. And not only that, that brings me subtly on to the next part. The springlock suit in Sister Location. What animatronic or what was that based on? What character? That for me is a whole video on itself, and I've done the video on that, so I know you're probably looking for that answer, but I highly recommend watching this video on screen now after this video, because it's so detailed and gives you a better breakdown than I can give you in a couple of minutes, because I want to move on to the next one. But just before I do, I'd also like to say in that video I don't mention Dolly. That's because I made that video before Secret of the Mimic's Dolly. Dolly definitely plays a part in the design of the springlock suit, 100%, and that's because I believe Afton himself stole a lot of Edwin Murray's springlock type designs. But look, I'm getting carried away. I can't help myself. I get so passionate about it, I just get carried away. Let's continue with the other bits and pieces, because there's one thing else I'd like to cover. Are the Nightmare animatronics actually real? And sure, you could go on about Special Delivery or FNAF AR, you know, the mobile game you play. That is real, it's based in-game, and realistically, you could say every variant in that game was real. I mean, in-universe, it's used as a delivery service for birthday parties and the like. And they had so many reskins, you know, Easter reskins, Halloween reskins, St. Patrick's Day reskins. I mean, they're all in there, in-game. And FNAF AR or delivery service was meant to be a delivery service of all these animatronics. Therefore, anything in there you could literally say was a variant and was made especially for these deliveries. They were real. Just wanted to say that quickly, but again, I'm going off on a tangent. Let's get back to the Nightmare animatronics. Now, these are a little bit more complicated because they don't really appear in anywhere else. Sure, you can say they appear in Help Wanted, but again, Help Wanted is a digital world. Now, they appear in FNAF 4, and in FNAF 4, we either play as the crying child or Michael, right? And somehow these giant hulking animatronics are inside their house. It's highly unlikely to me that these animatronics are real. We know from the Twisted One's book that these animatronics specifically, which look like the nightmares and are the nightmares, had illusion disc technology on them. Basically, it'd be a regular endo, but they'd have this illusion disc, and it kind of turned them into this imaginary nightmare creature. Now, I said that William Afton did this in his own house to terrorize his son, either Michael or the crying child, in experimentation to see if he could do anything with their fear/remnant. This is further backed up by one of the renders in the character encyclopedia. You literally see what looks to be some type of power module or illusion disc like in the books attached to the endoskeleton. Makes complete sense to me. Although I'm going to throw another spanner in the works because this game and these animatronics could easily literally be just nightmares of the player character. You know, they could literally be dreaming them up like a child does. You know, when you were little, you were thinking things were under your bed, in the closet. Could literally be that. Either way is hard to say, but one thing I can say comfortably is that they didn't exist. And with that, to me, I think I've covered the most interesting ones and the ones most sought after. But if I've missed any of these ones you want me to cover, let me know in the comment section below, because I read every single comment. And what do you think? Do you agree with my theory? Do you not? Let me know. And if you've watched through to this point, I thank you so much. And could you just do me one favor? Hit that like button and subscribe. We're working really hard to get 100,000 subscribers. With that being said, a massive thanks to the security guards who support us on screen now, with an extra special thanks to Lauren and Rena Fox, and not to mention Penguin Lover 12, who's a Twisted Fazbear CEO. I'm Twisted Animatronic, and as always, stay safe out there, superstars.